Hey, what's up? This is Václav. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into something exciting for the Zigbee users. I've got not one, but 3 Zigbee coordinators from the SMLIGHT. 2 Ethernet PoE adapters, the SLZB06 and the SLZB06P7 with slightly more memory, and a cheaper USB adapter SLZB07. I'll dig deeper into the difference between these 3 adapters in a few moments. So after this review, I will add one of the devices into my home assistant via Ethernet, Wi-Fi or USB, and I will migrate all of my Zigbee devices to this new coordinator. That's right. I'll try it on my main production Home Assistant instance. I have heard so much good references about this product and I have a very high expectation on him. So I want to test if they deliver on their promises. First, a bit of background on the SMLIGHT products. They are engineered in Ukraine and they have a stellar reputation for Home Assistant support. If you check their website, everything is designed for Home Assistant. During the war, they have moved their manufacturing to China and they have continued to maintain exceptional quality and global distribution. My journey with Zigbee started back in 2020 with the Sonoff CC2531. And it was not very easy. I had to flash it for Zigbee to MQTT. I had to build a Raspberry Pi and connect it to it. It was very complicated. I later upgraded to this CC2652 RB stick, which was much better. Both of those were running the Texas Instruments chipset, and I was using Zigbee to MQTT. In 2022, I got this SkyConnect from Home Assistant because I wanted to test the Zigbee Home Assistant, the ZHA. It was quite a journey, a lot of trial and error, but it finally worked. But eventually I have moved back to Zigbee to MQTT due to better device compatibility. But I kept using this SkyConnect device. I use this configuration in 2 homes. One of them works. I sometimes get some errors in the Zigbee to MQTT console, but it doesn't seem to affect the functionality. But I do have some issues with the other. Devices keep disconnecting. I tried installing more Zigbee routers to make the network more solid, but it's just not reliable. So let's see if this device will fix it. So I mentioned the 2 chipsets. The Silicon Labs chip is supposed to work best with the Zigbee Home Assistant, the ZHA, but the Texas Instruments works best with Zigbee to MQTT, or with both actually. They even mentioned that on their website, where they have a handy guide to navigate between the different options. Check it out. They say that whilst both chips support both integration, the Silicon Labs EFR32MG21 works best with ZHA and has experimental Zigbee to MQTT support, whilst the Texas Instruments CC2652P is fully supported on both Zigbee to MQTT and ZHA, and it also supports Thread. Then they go about the difference between the P7, basically saying that the only difference is that the P7 has more memory, but even the basic version, it has low memory usage, so the bigger memory has no effect. So they recommend the non-P7 version, stating that the P7 is a marketing gimmick. That's funny. Anyway, the price difference is $2. One is $33, the second is $35. So if you have a large Zigbee network, meaning like 200 devices or more, I'd go for a P7, but most of us don't, so I'd follow the recommendation and go for the basic non-P7 version. I use the Zigbee to MQTT, so the Texas Instruments better support is the first reason I'm excited to try those PoE adapters. But there are other 2 reasons. First, the larger antenna has a bigger reception, so the performance and coverage should be much better, it should be much more stable. But also it's connected to an Ethernet network, so I can place it in the middle of the house, closer to the devices. The SkyLink is a USB adapter, so it is connected to the Home Assistant server, which is in a different part of the house. So these are the three main reasons I'm expecting this is going to work great. So let's get started. First, I'll back up the Home Assistant configuration and the Zigbee adapter setting. The backups are automated, but better be safe than sorry. I want to test it with my Zigbee devices, so I'll do it in my production Home Assistant. I already mentioned that. So I want to make sure that I can restore our setup if something goes wrong. So let's start testing. I'll start with the SLZB06P7. Well, why not? It's powered over Ethernet, so I'll put it in the living room that is in the center of the house, and I'll make sure that the port it's connected to the power injector. So I will plug it into the Ethernet port, and the adapter also supports Wi-Fi or USB connection, and I'll try those later, but I like to stick with Ethernet. I think it's going to be most stable. So I will connect the adapter to the same network as Home Assistant. It'll make it easier because it should get automatically discovered, and it should make it easier to manage it later. If I'd like to connect it to a different network, I will have to get its IP address from my router, but I use the same network, so mine worked smoothly. It got discovered, so I will just add the device. You can see the device configuration page with the local DNS name, so I'll just submit. I can configure the area, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to finish, and then I can open the device. It's got quite a few entities, so that's interesting, but I don't need them right now. So I'm going to click on the visit button to open the adapter's configuration page. It's powered by ESP32 microcontroller, and it's got quite a nice UI, and we'll spend most of our time in that today. First thing I want to do is to check for the firmware update. The older firmware didn't have the option to change the IEEE address, and without this change the device might not be able to find the coordinator. And without this change, the Zigbee devices might not be able to find the coordinator, and we will need to repair them. And this is what we want to avoid. So let's check for the firmware update first. I'll navigate to the settings and tools, and there is a firmware update. And then here I will check both for the core and for the Zigbee updates. So in my case, the current core firmware is 236, and there is a new version 268. So I'm going to just click on that and update it. And indeed, here we can read that they added the feature to change the IEEE address. So this is good that we updated that. Then I'm going to do the same for the Zigbee update, but it looks like there we are on the latest version. So I'm going to close from here, and we can change the IEEE address. For that I need to go back to the Home Assistant, and I'll go to my Zigbee to MQTT, and here I'll go to Configuration, About, and in there I'm going to copy the IEEE address. So I'm going to just Command C. As you can see, I'm getting quite a few errors in here. So I'll be interested to see if they disappear after we migrate. So now I have the address. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to probably go to the Zigbee to MQTT, and I'm going to stop it. And I would like to remove the current coordinator. I'm not sure this is necessary, but when I change the IEEE address of the new one, I don't want to have two coordinators with the same address. And I have the address copied, so I'm going to just remove this one. Then back to the adapter's web interface. And in here, I'm going to go to Zigbee to MQTT and ZHA settings. And in there is an advanced option to change the adapter's IEEE address. Now, this function is in the advanced section, and there is a text that I should read before making changes to the IEEE address. The text is basically saying that if I'm switching from another CC26XX Zigbee adapter, so from another Texas Instruments adapter, I do not need to repair the devices. All I need to do is to shut down MQTT, power off the coordinator, turn off all the routers, Zigbee routers in the house, turn off the electricity, then power on the new SLZB06 or 06P7 adapter, start Zigbee to MQTT, and within 10 minutes all should work. But I'm not upgrading or switching from Texas Instrument adapter. I'm SkyConnect adapter, so that's not relevant for me. There is supposed to be more information about migration from other coordinators, but if I click on it, it doesn't find the page. So now I read the text and I will change the IEEE address. So I can read the current one, but I don't need it now. I need to have the new one and change it to the same format. So I'm gonna just paste it in here and say write IEEE address. It will be refreshed with the Zigbee firmware, so it's gonna be flashing again, and the update is done. So now the coordinator has the same IEEE address as the old one. So all there is left, I suppose, is to start the Zigbee to MQTT, right? But before we do that, we need to configure it. But how to do it? Well, they made it very simple. This web interface has all the configuration we need. So I'm gonna just click either on the ZHA or, in my case, Zigbee to MQTT. And in here there is the serial section, and I'll just copy the port section. As you can see, it's using Z-Stack. So I'm going to just copy those 3 lines. Then I'm gonna go back to the Home Assistant add-on configuration, and in here, in the serial section, I'm gonna just replace that with what I just copied. And I guess I can just save it, go back to the main page and start the add-on. And I'm gonna go to the log and see if I see any errors or if it starts. And if everything works fine, I should start seeing that there are messages from the devices. Now it looks like I have some issue with the network commissioning. It says the network commissioning timed out, most likely network with the same PAN ID or extended PAN ID already exists nearby, and there's a URL for some help. So I'm gonna just copy that and go to that web page. So I'm gonna just open the web page in a new browser, and there is the error. And if you get this error after increasing PAN ID as explained here, so there are some instructions. PAN ID set to generate and extended PAN ID will also, I can set it also to generate. Let's see. And then there's the network key, but changing network key requires repairing of all devices, so I don't want to do that. So I will try to set those 2 into generate. Zigbee channel I don't want to change, but those, it looks like I should be able to change them without the need to repair devices. Let's see if it helps. So I'm going to open my Zigbee configuration. So it's in the Zigbee to MQTT in my config directory. There is a configuration YAML. So I'm going to select the old ID and replace it with the word generate, and the same with the extended PAN ID. what it's gonna do is when the Zigbee to MQTT starts, it should generate the new IDs and replace the word generate with this actual ID. So I can just save it. Then I'm gonna go back to the add-ons, Zigbee to MQTT, stop it, and try to start it again. Let's see what happens. But after that, actually, so it looks like it works. I start getting messages from devices. So I can open the Zigbee to MQTT web UI, and I should start seeing the devices in here. Hopefully I haven't lost them. So I have lost all my devices. It's probably my fault. I will later find out I should have probably changed the extended PAN ID. I should have probably just changed the PAN ID. So that happened. So I'll have to go back and rejoin all the devices on my network, then rename them, coming back to Home Assistant and change their entity IDs to match what I already have. So it's gonna be about half day of work. So I'll spare you of this time. So I'll do that offline and I'll come back when this is done. So here are my devices. Everything is checked and working. And this is my network map. And so far, I do not see any errors. Everything seems to be working. So, a couple of hours later, I get everything working. At the end, I didn't have to rename any of the devices. Zigbee to MQTT remembered them by ID. So, all I had to do was to press the pairing button and add them to the network. So, that was not that hard. But the biggest challenge was that I have a couple of devices in wall sockets. So I had to open the socket and get to the devices, push this button. Not something I like to do every day, especially for the sockets that were behind the cabinets, especially those which cannot be moved. Anyway, I'm back to the business. The Spook add-on was a great help. It kept reminding me which of the devices I'm still missing. And I've in fact discovered one that I do not have anymore, but I forgot to remove it from the Home Assistant. And the entity was still there, so nothing complained. So it was a good cleanup. At least one positive. Anyway, I like to believe that this was rather an exception. In all guides and videos I saw whilst preparing for this video, they had a smooth ride. I must have screwed something up in some of my previous migrations. I have changed my Zigbee coordinator and moved the integrations between ZHA and Zigbee to MQTT like 5 times, maybe more. And I think that most of you wouldn't do that. Also, I think that if I didn't reset the extended PAN ID, this could have been avoided. But anyway, it was not too hard. At least you see that problems happen to everyone time to time. But they do have solution. Anyway, so that's the SLZB06P7. Let's quickly check the other two. First, the SLZB06. It's pretty much the same, but I will try to connect this one via Wi-Fi. I mean, I'd stick it to the Ethernet ultimately, but if you do not have Ethernet available, at least this is an option, so let's test it. The adapter has USB-C port, so let's power it on. It will create its own Wi-Fi, so I'll connect to it from my phone. Then I will open the browser and go to HTTP 192.168.1.1, and it will open the adapter configuration. We've seen that before. So I'll just go to the network, Wi-Fi settings. Here I will scan for Wi-Fi networks. I will pick the one I'd like to use, preferably the same network where the Home Assistant is connected. And I'll enter the Wi-Fi password and hit save. It will connect, get discovered by Home Assistant, and the rest should be the same as before. I'm not gonna do it now. I'll use this adapter for the other house. So let's leave it there. And finally, let's try connecting it via USB to the Home Assistant. But for that, I'll use the SLZB07. It's a USB adapter, so let's plug it into my Home Assistant. And it will get discovered, so I'm gonna just check it out, add the integration, submit, it'll configure it automatically. Now I have the option to keep the radio network setting, so in case I already had some devices connected to this radio, I could choose that if I'm moving the coordinator from a different device. Or I can upload a manual backup, again quite useful if I'm moving between devices or if I am moving from Zigbee to MQTT, for example. But this is a new coordinator, so I could choose erase network setting and create new network, or I can choose the first one, I suppose. Doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go for the last option, and it will create a new Zigbee network, and it's added, so I can finish. Then I can go to the integration page, and in here, if I configure, here I can add new devices. So if I just click in here, I can put devices in discovery mode and start adding my devices and building my network. So ZHA is pretty simple for basic networks. This is what I would recommend. There you could see the visualization. Right now I only have the coordinator, but if I have multiple devices, I could see the map there as well. So this is pretty straightforward indeed. Let me just check in the hardware if I have some options. So this is Home Assistant green. This is my test instance, but I do not see the device there. Unlike the Skylink, for which I could see the Skylink listed here, because this is hardware provided by Home Assistant, and there I can configure it, for example, change it for thread, but this is not an option for this device. If I used one of the PoE adapters, I could configure them using Wi-Fi or Ethernet. There is an option to configure the adapter to also have Wi-Fi in case it's connected through USB. So I could use the configuration web page on the device, but I don't believe this is possible for this USB only device. This is a pretty cheap device. Before I finish this video, let me go to the SLZB06 webpage, because I'd like to show you some additional features it has. So I'll use the new shortcut D, and I'll go for the device SLZ, and I think it's this one. And I'll go back to the device page, and what I want to show you, there is this menu mode, and in here, as you can see, I'm connected through the Ethernet, but there's a Wi-Fi and USB connection option as well. I'm gonna check it in a second. But for now, I can also turn on the Matter over Thread or Zigbee router. So now it's Zigbee coordinator. Don't know why would I use Zigbee router for that. I could use any smart socket, but the Matter over Thread beta, it's interesting one. So yes, the P7 supports the Matter over Thread as well, even though it was not listed on the box. On their website, they have a very nice link to some user guides for Matter over Thread, so you can check it out. But I'll leave this off for now, as I do not have any Thread device. And when I do, I'll probably leave one adapter for Zigbee, and I'll use another adapter for Thread. Because my understanding is that the chip, if using both, the chip will be switching between the two, because I think it's only got one antenna. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I think that's the case. So if I have Thread, I would probably like to keep one coordinator for each. But that's perhaps something for another video. And that's it. The migration was, well, it was a success. I wouldn't say it was smooth, but it was probably due to my fault. And the performance is excellent so far. I'm thrilled with the SLZB06's larger antenna, the flexibility thanks to the power over Ethernet, and the seamless setup. So what do you think about the SMLIGHT's lineup? Have you tried their products? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for more Home Assistant content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!